But listen, if you ever need help with your computer, Apple Care is
Oh
phenomenal.
my God, aren't they ever awesome?
Yeah.
Oh, it's insane. Like
I've had trouble with stuff that had
somebody
nothing to do with Apple, and call them. They're like, "Yeah, well, it's not really our thing, but let me see if I can help you here." So it'll walk you through.
Oh,
and you're like,
right.
Fixes
we
my
were
problem.
doing something.
But what I was
they talked us out of buying their cloud and go get Amazon. He said, if you got Amazon, don't even buy the Mac cloud. You got all you'll need over there. Like they are
like
helpful as fuck.
If I found out tomorrow that my wife was cheating on me, I'd call Apple Care to ask them what I should do.
Actually, if your wife was cheating on you with an Apple Care guy, you'd be like, I understand.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if she was cheating on me with an Apple Care guy, I'd be like, yeah, no, that guy takes care of business.
I can't compete with that.
Yeah.
Well, guys, here we are. Season 2 of the Deke Snipe Silly Podcast. Can you believe it? Season 2. We had almost 30 episodes in our first year.
Not bad. Let's beat it this year, though.
Well, we almost got to. I don't see how we can't. We really never started until the season started, which was really January.
And it was only half a season, really.
Yeah, it was half a season. We were doing one every week to 10 days or so, and people were kind of responsive to that. Just so our listeners know, our ratings were on the climb all year, and that's always good to see, picking up listeners across the world, which is really cool. With our biggest fan bases being good old Newfoundland, where we're all from, and of course Southern Ontario, because we're all Leafs fans.
Yeah.
So a lot of Southern Ontario listeners. Really appreciate you guys. But big news for this season.
We're gonna see
we've got new faces.
Yeah, and I'd say the hotspot for listeners in CBN is about to go insane.
Yeah, Conception Bay North about to explode. We've added a 4th host, guys. Our good friend Patty Phillips has joined the show. You guys might have known. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Patty,
welcome aboard, matey.
Patty was our first ever Average Joe guest, because we like to do the Average Joes, and
yes.
Then Patty kind of just stuck around like an old cat, like when you feed your cat, like it's around your door, like it just doesn't go away. Patty joined us for a few different episodes, guest episodes as guest hosts, and
y'all getting any more of those podcast spots?
Yeah,
every podcast needs your Irish in it.
That's true.
Get me in the podcast, I'll save you a draw. But yeah, no, Patty's joined us, guys, so you're gonna see lots more Patty. Hopefully, if everything goes well.
Thanks for having me.
All 4 of us is gonna try to get on as much as possible, but like I said, it gives us the option too of not all of us having to be here all the time, so that's cool too.
Yes. That works out.
Patty's been a good friend of ours ever since. I guess we kind of all met the same time, really online, technically, through Leafs Facebook
pretty much.
group, and we've become friends from that like 10 years ago, I guess, or
it's from the same fine little town as my wife, so I might have met him earlier,
6-7 years ago.
In
any case, the other big news, our sponsor from season 1 has come back to sponsor season 2. So a huge shout out to the most important people to keep this stuff going. Our sponsor is PHG Sports out of Whitby, Ontario. Now, you know PHG from your Costco warehouse. They're the guys who set up with the hand-signed merchandise, the photos, the jerseys, the helmets, the pucks, you name it. They've got it. PHG Sports, that's where the pros sign. So you can also get PHG Sports at www.phgsports.com. You can order online. They'll ship right to your door. So big thank you. We can't thank you guys enough for coming on board and making all this possible. So guys, if you're out around Costco's and you see their display, stop by, chat with the guys. They're more than happy just to talk hockey when anyone comes along. Fantastic dudes. But without further ado, we've got a guest. So season 2, episode 1 of the Deke Snipe Silly Podcast. You guys asked for it. We got it. The one, the only, Mr. Joe Bowen has joined us. Titter tatter. Let's get at her. All right, well, guys, welcome to season 2, episode number 1 of the Deke Snipe Silly Podcast with your hosts, myself, Ryan Gates, Chad Newman, Kylie Myrne, and of course our new host. He was our stand-in host. He's going to be an official 4th host for this season, Mr. Patty Phillips. We do have a guest, of course, our season opening guest, apparently, for last year and this year. I guess I'm going to do a different set of credentials though this time. Like I said, I gave all the accolades last time. I'm going to do it a little bit differently this year. I'm going to say he's owner of the Green Bay Packers, star of Amazon's All or Nothing. He's a Hockey Hall of Famer, voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and friend of the show, Mr. Joe Bowen. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So that's the first thing I got.
I don't get any money for being an owner of the Green Bay Packers, and I got no money for All or Nothing. So, and I'm not getting any money for this show. So there's got to be a.
We got a few perks.
No, I got perks. No, the last time I was on, we had quite a bit of that bottle that you got sent down to us for Thanksgiving on the weekend. So.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Nothing wrong with that.
We love to hear that.
No, I was actually pleasantly surprised. Did you have any say in that, Joe? As if they were going to use your voice and whatnot in All or Nothing, or is that just came out that way?
No, it was. I was quite surprised, to be honest with you, that it was used, I think, exclusively. I mean, Jimmy, Ralph, and I seem to be the only voices that were used. I don't know if there were others that were in there, and that was gratifying. I guess the puzzling thing is that if we're good enough to do that, we're not good enough to do TV here. So I haven't really been able to figure this out. And it's way, I've got people way above my pay grade deciding this. So it is kind of strange.
Well, we want you back on TV.
Either, Joe.
It's been a question of, so many of ours for,
and still all over Twitter.
I don't know how long.
Hashtag bring back Bowen, all the popular tweets.
I'm still here.
No.
If anything,
but you're not on our TV.
I know.
But he's got been muscling up now. You got Sean with you. You're going to have more Bowens than anything else.
Oh yeah, no, that was a very, very proud moment, and he's doing a great job with the Argos.
Yeah, with the Argos.
In fact, I just had to record a thing yesterday, and they've used it on Twitter after the Argos won the football game today, where I gave it out a holy Mackinac. What a big win that was for the Argos. Of course, having a little fun with Tiger Cat fans with Oski Wee Wee, Oski Wah Wah, holy Mackinac, Tigers, beat them wrong.
Yeah.
Cool. Nothing wrong with that.
No, so it's been a while since we chatted. Like I said, last time we chatted, Joe, was like, I think we're 3 games into the season last year, and we talked a lot about where the Leafs were and where they could end up, and a lot of what we talked about came to fruition. I mean, they made it to the playoffs. They won the division, which is what we talked about. And again, it was anyone's guess from there. But with regard to, I hate to even bring it up, last season and where we ended up, you've had time to reflect on last season, I guess, now, and think about everything you've seen leading up to that. Do you have any, I'll call them final thoughts on last season heading into this season?
Well, other than it proved to me something that I already knew, and that is this is a really good league, and it's made up of really, really good players. And I don't care how much money you make. All of these guys are good athletes, and when you get a group that will bind together and pay the price, especially defensively. I mean, not everybody can have the silk hands of a Mitch Marner or an Austin Matthews, but everyone can work as hard as they can defensively. And that just means getting in the way. And that's what the Montreal Canadiens did. And unfortunately, the Leafs didn't fight through that enough. And the other thing is you got to have some breaks. And when our second best centerman goes down moments into the season or into the series, and then we get a break in game 4 where Galchenyuk decides to turn the puck over and have a 2-on-0 going the wrong way on a shorthanded rush.
Yeah,
those kinds of breaks that happen. And I've been talking lots of people off the ledge this summer. And I point out that Marchand and Bergeron, when they were very young with the Boston Bruins, blew a 3-0 series lead to the Philadelphia Flyers. So mental toughness is a thing that you talk about, and everybody wants grit and they want sandpaper, and we want them to be mentally tough. You don't just acquire that by talking about it. It's something that you have to kind of go through. And I think this was the first time. And there have been disappointments, yes. The series with Boston, the elimination by the Washington Capitals, but all of those series, the Leafs were underdogs. They were not underdogs against Montreal. They were heavy favorites. And very similar to what Tampa Bay had happened to them against Columbus before they went on to win their 2 Stanley Cups. They got taught mental toughness pretty dramatically with a 4-game sweeping. So all of this, it's lessons that have to be taught, but lessons that have to be learned. And you hope that this group, who are obviously talented enough, have acquired by being forcibly taught to have some mental toughness and some killer instinct to their game when they get into a situation like they were last year when they had a team on the ropes. So, but we won't find that out. We won't find out unless they're good enough to get back into the postseason. And we're certainly anticipating that they are good enough to do that. And then we're going to find out whether the lessons were learned.
Yeah, and then we'll find out if this Canadian division and versus, your regular Atlantic division is going to make that big of a difference. And I'm interested to see that, because that was a big accusation and they're record-breaking things last year. But again, they're all NHL players trying to win the same thing.
Chad, I think one of the things too, I think the Canadian division or got a lot of bad publicity. This was the weakest division. Well, it wasn't. I mean, no. We had a guy win the Rocket Richard Trophy, the most valuable player in the league. We had a first time since 1963, someone from the Toronto Maple Leafs made the first All-Star team. I mean, there was a lot went on in this division, and I think that everybody's going to find out that wow, there's some pretty tough teams that played at the 49th parallel, and we'll find out this year while the divisions are now back to what they were under normal circumstances.
Yeah, I'm still hearing all that stuff coming up to the season coming in. Everyone's gonna, try to make their predictions, and I'm like, yeah, well, I'm all right. Things are fine.
Yeah,
Joe, I think.
Yep. Sorry.
I was going to say, personally, I think the biggest issue with the Leafs this year was soon as they put out that list, Sportsnet, TSN, they all put out their list of who or what their predictions was. It was all Leafs in 7, Leafs in 4, Leafs in 5. And as soon as I seen that, I said to my boyfriend, that right there, it's like soon as they have the pressure on them and they are the favorites to win anything, whether it be just a game, a period, whatever the case may be, it's this pressure. And then, like they said in the documentary, they have these demons. And until they get this, like Joe said, a killer instinct and they can just shut the game down, I don't know. I just really hope finally after heartbreak, that maybe we might see a difference this year.
Yeah, maybe they got some.
I'm just not getting my hopes up.
They need to do.
I can't do it to myself again. Can't do it. Too much pain. Too much pain.
Yes, you can.
And you
will.
I
will. And I will.
Don't be trying to tell. I'm watching the Boston Red Sox, who have become a powerhouse in Major League Baseball. But they didn't win the World Series since 1912 until they eradicated the evil empire of the New York Yankees by sweeping them after going down 3-0. Something dramatic happened. The guy's name was Big Papi, right? And how about the Chicago Cubs? That was 1908. They never won a World Series while they were in Wrigley Field, which is the second oldest ballpark in Major League Baseball. And yet it happened. Now,
true.
The bottom line about it all, I mean, and it's we're all fans, and but you have to hang in there, obviously. And you're gonna gnash teeth and everything else that goes on. But when it does happen, and it will, and I sincerely hope that it's on my watch, it's going to be so special that it's going to be ridiculous. And you heard about guys taking transistor or taking radios or however to a graveyard to sit with their grandfather or their dad, who was a long time suffering Chicago Cub fan, and they were listening to the game together in the graveyard. I mean, that's what sports is all about. The best part about it is, and the heartbreak. The only thing that's better than the heartbreak for the type of feelings that you're going to have is the ultimate victory. And
that's right.
Yeah, is when it happens.
Only one team does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
So Jody talked about at the one of the headlines, I guess, over the summer after the Leafs got eliminated was more around the Leafs lacked that killer instinct. 2 years ago, or 3 years ago was defense. Then it was grit. Now it's killer instinct, which appears to me, in my mind, is the easy excuse at the end of the day. Marner got beat up pretty bad over the summer. Like, that guy he's probably going to play on the top line for Team Canada, or pretty close to it. Any thoughts on that piece, like what that killer instinct looks like? Because they had enough veteran presence in that dressing room, I think, to get them over the top, at least past the first round. Because nine times out of 10, Montreal do not beat Toronto in that first round.
No, I agree with you, Patty. I mean, but again, it's something that has to be learned. I mean, it's not something that you just open up a can of tuna and all of a sudden out pops killer instinct and you get to devour it and everybody enjoys it and then you go on. So, I mean, it's a difficult thing to explain, I guess, and it's a difficult thing to harness. But you have to go through this kind of build up and depression, if you will, of it not happening. But then you have to be true to the core that you think that can get you there. And at this particular point, Kyle Dubas and Brendan Shanahan and everybody else have felt that this is the group. And, I think they've made some good decisions in the offseason, augmenting the group. And I think that that's one of the things that I think we're going to see that I'm excited about. I know they lost Zach Hyman, but I think Nick Ritchie and Michael Bunting are going to be key contributors offensively. I think David Kampf is going to provide them with something that they've really never had, and that is a shutdown center iceman.
Yes.
And Kasha, I think, will be a contributor as well. So I think their depth is there. I think they've made some good moves to replace people who have moved on, and we'll wait and see.
Yeah. No, we talked about that at length too in one of our previous episodes. Before, what ended off our last season. Basically, we talked about the departure of Hyman and how much that would have cost the team to keep him. What you would have had to. Everyone sees a player departure, but no one thinks about what you wouldn't be able to have in the future if you did sign Zach Hyman to that kind of money. And I'll be one of those guys who came into the season when I looked at the team on paper before I seen any skates hit the ice. I said, this team is not as good as it was last year at the end of the season. That was my first initial take. Having watched the whole preseason and dissected it to death, I actually think the team's gotten better. I really believe that Dubas and company has brought in some pieces that it's not a matter of one person replacing one person and it being an equal trade. But when you look right down through the depth of the team, there's no question to me that it's a better team on the ice. Oh, nice.
I agree with you. Everybody is all, and rightly so, impressed with Zach Hyman's work ethic. And he scored 20 goals and worked hard. But you know what? There are a lot of guys that can work hard. And there are a lot of people that are going to be involved and do things maybe a little bit differently than what Zach did. But I think that Bunting and Ritchie are going to bring different pieces. I think Bunting may be a better scorer than Hyman was. And Ritchie is certainly going to bring more of a physical presence
big time.
than what Zach did.
Yep.
So, I mean, there are all these little things that are going to have to be pieced together, and we'll see how it all turns out. But, this is a really, really, really good league. And you can plug in people that make it to this league and get some pretty dramatic results.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
Is there a Leaf this year, Joe, that you think they're going to miss more than not? Everybody talks about Hyman. I think Bogosian in particular is a big loss.
Yes.
If there's any concern that I have going into the season, is that 5-6 pairing. I'm glad they're giving the kids Sandy and Liljegren a chance, because that's got to happen sooner rather than later. And maybe I can see at the trade deadline, you go out and get that Bogosian type piece again. But I think of all the players, throw Freddie into the mix, Bogosian's that guy that changes up that defense, who was very good, a very good defensive core last year.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with you. He brought some physicality back there that really Jake Muzzin was only the one that provided that. And I agree with you that that's something that at the trade deadline that they might try to explore again. But Rasmus Sandin's a first-round pick, and he's been in this organization and paid his dues, and is a real good puck-moving defenseman. And he's a good defensive. He's good defensively as well. Now he's not going to drop the gloves and pound heads, but in the regular season and stuff like that, that's really not something that you're going to have to do. They've got other people that can certainly handle that, and Simmons and Ritchie and others. But I think that their defense and their goaltending last year was much better. And those are the things I think you hang your hat on. That is this team improving? And the answer to that was a dramatic yes. Shots on goal dramatically reduced, goals against dramatically reduced, winning streaks that Jack Campbell went on. He made himself and made Frederik Andersen, expendable. And I think the addition of Peter Mrazek will give them a real good 1-2 punch, instead of us always worried about, is Freddie going to be all right because we don't have anybody that can possibly fill in for him. Well, that certainly isn't the case as far as the Leafs are concerned at this particular point. And having the two of them is going to be a big bonus. So I think that we're going to see with Camp there as far as a defensive shutdown centerman. Also the penalty kill. I think he's going to be a key contributor, especially in the face-off circle, as well as penalty killing. I can see this team being better defensively than they were a year ago, which was a dramatic improvement over what they were the previous 3 or 4 years.
And I still feel like Amadio should be mentioned on face-off circle too. I think if he comes up and gets the call up and stays, he's looking really good on face-offs as well.
Yeah.
The one kid that we lost today was Adam Brooks.
Yes. That's what I was just going to ask. How do you feel about that?
Well, we hate it too.
Mad. And it had to be Montreal.
Yeah, well, but he was, no matter how much he played, how little or wherever he was slotted in, he produced points. And I was very impressed with him. And and it's really it's a salary cap situation, right? They can't afford to have a lot of people with the big club, and they were trying to hopefully sneak him through to get him down with the Marlies so that they could bring him up later. But I thought he was going to be a real key depth guy, and now the depth is in Montreal.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
he's already Montreal's best player, in my opinion.
I seen a tweet today, and it was something like, it's funny how Leafs, depth players, we'll call them, are picked up constantly on waivers, while other teams, I forget exactly how it was written, but how other teams, similar players, slide through there like butter or something, right? And it's so true. Every time we put a good or a decent player on waivers, I was surprised it wasn't Vancouver today, to be honest, because they seem to take all of our leftovers. But yeah, Montreal. Thanks.
Well, one of the things that's always very interesting, and we dissect people here to the nth degree, is to talk to other team scouts. What do you think of so and so? And you often get a very dramatic difference of opinion, as opposed to, I don't know about this guy, and they're high on him. And obviously there are scouts every night by the dozens that are at Scotiabank Arena watching, and they make their notes and they make good decisions. And Adam Brooks will be a real good piece to the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah,
it'd be good no matter where he goes.
That year that they drafted all the overagers, I really bought into the strategy. I'm like, you throw enough darts at the board, one will stick. And when they drafted those guys, and I followed Brooks along through the entirety of his time with the Leafs, and he just continually impressed me, and it was sad to see him go. But we digress. Another piece out. We got to look at what's coming back in. So. It is what it is. I'm curious, Joe, what you think about Rasmus Sandin's role with the club this year. Obviously, we know where he's starting. He's starting in the 6th pair, but do you foresee him moving up the lineup through the season, or because he certainly has a potential?
I can see him being utilized a lot on the power play.
Yes.
And whichever unit is working the best will see the ice time improved or decreased to that extent. You know, I mean, there are going to be injuries. There's going to be different things go on, but I think it's a big opportunity for him, especially knowing that if I have a bad shift or I have a bad game, I'm not going back. I'm here, and I'm here on merit, and my confidence level is going to show through that. So I think that's an important aspect of it, and I think that he'll do fine. He moves the puck extraordinarily well. He's a great skater and very smart. He'll be fine.
Yeah. No.
What do you think about potentially Liljegren stealing Dermott's spot on the roster?
That'll be interesting. I mean, the issue again is that they can't keep a lot of guys sitting with the big club because they have this issue with the salary cap. So that will be a juggling match that's going to go on. And because Timothy can still be sent down without having to go through waivers, I mean, I can see him, and it does no one any good to sit in the press box and watch other people play. So the Marley's going to have a full schedule. He's a trolley car fare away from joining the team if needed. So I can see him playing and playing a lot with the Marlies. And, you know, there'll be opportunities. And, you know, Travis Dermott has paid his dues as well, and probably is a little more physical than Timothy is, but it'll be interesting to see. I think they're going to need, you know, 7, 8 defensemen sooner or later throughout the course of the season because of the injuries and things that go on.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd be quite happy to see Liljegren getting a regular shift. You know, like I think that's what that's the next step in his progression. All this in and out is not helping him any. He needs to continue to develop, and you only do that if you're going to play. So I'd really like to see him against NHL talent night in, night out, and see what he's got, right?
You can't get used to playing in the NHL without playing in the NHL. So he's going to have to do it sometime or another.
You need someone to not play well or to get injured to give you that opportunity. And then when opportunity knocks, you've got to seize it. And, you know, he'll get it. He'll get some time. He'll get playing time this year. There's no question about it.
So we talked about guys going down. What about guys coming up? I mean, everyone was surprised when Robertson hit the Marlies so early on in the cuts. I'm fully expecting to see him in the blue and white again very, very shortly with the big club. Any thoughts on Nick's progression, how he's been doing so far?
Well, where were you going to put him?
That's the problem.
Exactly.
The first or second line?
Yeah.
Probably not. Right?
That's where he'd suit best.
So is he going to play on the checking line with Camp and others? Probably
exactly.
not. So now you have him playing with Wayne Simmons and Jason Spezza, if in fact that's where it is, and not getting an awful lot of ice time to do that. You know, they've already had a major injury as far as someone who might have been in top 6 with Ilya Mikheyev gone for 8 weeks. So, you know, I would say that, you know, Nick is probably making sure that he's not talking to a young lady for hours on end on his phone because it's liable to ring rather quickly by somebody who Al Duba's giving him a call. So, you know, that's again, you have to be, and for years we would bring the highest scoring minor player from the Marlies or the Baby Leafs up and plug him into the 4th line and give him 3 minutes of ice time and then go, you know, you didn't show much.
Yeah, it didn't score. Go
back down. Well, thanks a lot. You know, I never got the puck, which was really too bad. But you know, if you'd have just really showed something in the 2.5 minutes we let you play,
that's right.
You know, we might keep you up. But so you know, until you need somebody in that kind of top 6 area, Nick's better served playing day in and day out with the Marlies.
I agree wholeheartedly. Go ahead, Patty.
Yeah, Ryan, if you recall last week, we chatted about that with Kylie as well. I can remember watching the Baby Leafs back in the day, and you had Brandon Convery there, you had Andrew McKim, you had a lot of top talent who did very well at the AHL level, and they would never come up. I can never remember a prospect coming up. Maybe Joe Sacco or someone like that came up, and they would land on the third and fourth line, and none of those guys ever made it. Yannick Pro was probably the only one that came up and landed in an offensive role. But how many prospects did they go through over the years that didn't really make it because they were not in the right place? Well, I'm glad what you're doing with Robertson, and he's only 20.
Yeah. The other thing is that, the Leafs have stockpiled some talent from high picks. Liljegren and Sandin, Robertson. All of these guys have been, utilized with high picks. So, their talent is there. Nick needs to get bigger and more solid on his skates. Obviously, he can shoot the puck and has a good imagination with it. But he needs to play with people that can understand and augment that kind of talent. And that's not playing on the fourth line with a bunch of pluggers or whatever. It's,
no, that's right.
6 minutes.
No, it's not going to do anything for him.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
I said, I don't think he would have even been called up last year had there been anybody ahead of him to call up. Just last year, we never had much in regards to depth, and he was the next man up. And I think if it wasn't for that, he probably wouldn't have had any games with the big club yet. Just because he's personally, I mean, there's no doubt he can't do it, or he can do it, you know what I mean? But I just don't think he's ready per se.
Or who do you take out to put him in?
There's unless we have significant injuries, or like you said, there's with Mikheyev going down, that does bring up a question. But there is still someone who can step up, and until they prove they can't do it, he's good to stay where he is, in my opinion. But
well, guys, we're running a little short on time. I'm gonna give Joe one last one because I love to put Joe on the spot at least once. No fun if we don't put him on the spot somewhat. But I'm gonna let him choose because he's the guest. I'll give you 3 topics, Joe, and you can comment on one. I'll let you choose the topic.
Okay.
This section is going to be called Bold Predictions by Joe Bowen. So we got 3 things. First and foremost, how many goals you think Matthews can score in a full 82-game season at his current abilities? Second, being the future O'Reilly, which I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole if it was me. And third and foremost, can they get through to the second round this year? Is this the year? Well, you can choose all 3 if you want, but I wouldn't.
I think Austin Matthews is going to score certainly better than the club record that Rick Vaive holds for goal scoring. I would think he is in a position, if healthy, and they're obviously taking their time with his wrist. But if he's healthy, he's going to score 60 times this year, I think.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
Morgan Riley that's a difficult question.
I tell you, it keeps me awake.
The problem that arises is salary cap.
Yeah.
And if the cap doesn't go up, then there is a major problem. And that will have to be addressed at that time. And what was the third one you were asking?
Is this the year they get over the hump?
Absolutely.
This
is the year.
This is it.
This last year. But you know what? Hey, hope springs eternal in the human breast, and why wouldn't it be? I fully believe that you have to experience the kind of setback that they had last year when they were favored. The first time that they were really favored, and they were favored, and they were a better team. And they were disappointed deeply by what transpired. So I really think that the idea of mental toughness having to be force-fed to you rather than just picking up a book and reading about it, I think that is something that will augur well for them when they get to the postseason.
Awesome. Well, in true Joe Bowen fashion, he didn't duck any of the questions. He took them all. So always appreciate it, Joe. Guys, you got anything else for Joe before we let him go on his merry way?
Your favorite Newfoundlander, Dustin Mercer, made the lineup, eh?
Yes.
Yes.
He cracked the lineup.
Yep.
That's awesome to see. He's playing a really good exhibition. So
Yep.
yeah, been watching him.
Sure.
Yeah, me too.
That's about it.
I'm glad.
Yeah, absolutely, guys.
Well,
right,
I
Joe.
love your. I was just gonna say, I love that you have all this faith because it makes me feel faithful.
All warm and fuzzy.
And you know what? It's
Yeah.
a whole new year. It's a whole new year.
It's true.
You know what? I'm a huge Notre Dame fan. I own the Green Bay Packers. I'm a Boston Red Sox fan. And guess what? There are a lot more depressing moments than victorious ones. And that's the nature of professional sport, where you can't win it all the time. And it's a difficult thing to do. So you better enjoy the ride.
I've been giving all my friends that are not
I think we're going to have
Leafs
a hell of a
fans.
ride.
All my friends
I
are not
hope
Leafs
so.
fans and are Jays fans. I'm trying to talk them through it. Say, man, I've been here before. Young offense,
Right.
all the flash, all the promise,
Yeah.
and coming up short. I was like, take it easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Take
get
a
much.
deep breath. We'll be fine.
So, Joe,
That's
if you had to choose now, Stanley Cup for the Leafs this year or Fighting Irish Championship, which would you choose?
Oh, I've seen the Irish win.
Okay.
So
I'll wait. I'll
Leafs.
wait.
I'm
I'll
so
wait for a Leaf Stanley Cup.
All right,
Okay, that's good to know.
All right, sir.
Good
Well,
answer.
I'll be
as,
coming to Toronto.
Yeah,
I'll be
we're coming
coming
to
up,
visit.
and I'll
Yeah,
be
we're
coming to see you. So
Perfect.
it's hopefully it's happening soon, and in a non-pandemic way. Hopefully, so the world can actually
They got
celebrate.
full
I feel like
capacity,
that's
though.
why it. Well, exactly, but I feel like that's kind of why it didn't happen last year. That was not meant to happen with no fans. We
Nobody
do
there.
not deserve that. We deserve to
We
be
need to
there.
in the building.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
for the record, I would have taken it though.
Yes. I mean,
Oh God,
never
yes.
say
So
no.
no, never say never or nothing, I should say. But thanks for coming on again, Joe. Hopefully we'll
My
get you on
pleasure.
again.
Yeah, it's
All the
awesome
best to
seeing you.
everybody out there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
see you,
we had a
man.
lot of people from the Rock have asked about you and how you're doing and if you'll be back on again. So we really appreciate you taking the time to pop on and
Yeah.
a little bit of insight into this upcoming season. So again, sir, thank you very much. We'll be in touch down the road, I'm sure.
Thanks,
Take
Joe.
care.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
All the best.
Take care.
All right, guys, that's our good friend Joe Bowen. Imagine your good friend is Joe Bowen, friend of the
Yeah,
show,
saying that.
voice to Maple Leafs. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Joe doesn't do podcasts.
I
He
have
doesn't-
Joe Bowen in my phone as a contact. Like, how cool is that?
I don't have that.
That's pretty
That's
cool.
pretty
I'm
awesome.
joking.
I'm
He's
not
awesome.
I can-
He's,
No, just important people.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
But-
Joe never disappoints ever in life in anything. I mean, the guy is a class act. He doesn't do a lot of this kind of stuff, and he's got a strong connection with Newfoundland and the people here, and he's always had a mad respect for Newfoundlanders. And the fact that he takes time to do this for virtually a bunch of nobodies in the podcasting world speaks
We
volumes.
appreciate it so
Yeah.
much.
Speaks volumes
Oh,
of the
yeah.
quality of guy, right? So no, we can't say enough good about Joe. Also, we wouldn't be getting this far to have Joe on if it wasn't for PHG Sports. So again, a big thank you to Todd and the gang at PHG. Yeah, so I was talking to Todd just a couple of days ago, actually, when we were chatting about the podcast and where we want to go and everything else, and he's planning on coming on for an episode to chat some Leafs hockey with us.
nice.
So
Oh,
he'll likely
fun.
be
Awesome.
if we can make it happen. Todd will likely be our next guest, or at least in our next couple of guests. We're hoping to get Todd on early in the season, so look forward to that. Again, class act of a guy, and we can't wait to chat with him. And he's a huge Leafs fan, massive. So
Awesome.
yeah, check out those guys, www.phgsports.com, and don't forget to check out their Facebook site. You'll get PHG on Facebook, just give it a search, and you'll get all the updates as to which Costco they're heading to next and where you can expect to see them in the future. And of course, any promotions they've got on the go and any signings, because they're constantly dealing with the athletes up close and personal and getting those items signed that you've been dying to have. So keep an eye to their website as well as Facebook. So yeah, guys, if you get a chance, check us out. You can get us on www.facebook.com/DeeksKnifeSelly. That carries all of our content, memes, articles, the podcast, just about everything that we roll out goes out through our Facebook page. You can also get us at Selly Deek. That's on Twitter at Selly Deek. And of course, if you're listening to the podcast, which most of our viewers/listeners do, you can catch us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Play, and you name it. You search Deke Snipe Selly on any of your providers, you're likely going to get us. So again, guys, we thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you haven't already, hit the old subscribe button. maybe even a like and a share wouldn't hurt you. So we really appreciate your support. So I guess we'll shut her down, guys. Peace out.
Cheers.
Yep.